Tommy, have you simplified line calls with the young line and then going against that kind of front four, like an NFL front four? How does that play into how you'll try to?
No, you can't really simplify what we do on the offensive line. It's pretty complex, but these guys have picked it up pretty well. We make very few mental mistakes in the offensive line. We've had some physical mistakes, but the mental mistakes have been good. We've averaged out, grading out close to 90 on each guy on the mental aspect of it the last few weeks. Again, these guys enjoy playing. They enjoy playing with each other, and they help each other out, and that's been a big key to our success. Again, we haven't scored a lot of points, but I think we've protected Brandon a lot better, especially when people have blitzed, and we've been able to run the ball a little bit more consistent each week.
Did you see anything this week? Because in the Florida game, right before you had Florida, they had that game against Ole Miss where there were some weaknesses exploited with them. Their secondary, and you guys went to the passing attack against Florida. Do you see anything with LSU from this Kentucky game that you might be able to exploit this week?
Well, they played against probably the best passing team in our league last week. LSU did, and we faced him a couple of years ago, and he was good then. And I can imagine how much better he is. You can't tell a lot by watching on film, but they got a lot of confidence in Kentucky throwing and running the ball and making plays. But there's not a lot of weaknesses on LSU's football team. The weaknesses are not evident, of what we've been looking at. But, people are going to make plays on you. I don't care how good you're on defense. They're going to make plays. And I'm sure they're disappointed giving up the points that they gave up last week. But again, that's going to happen, especially when you're on the road playing against good teams.
Having seen the guys practice now, how do you feel the couple of days off from the practices affected you?
Yeah, we needed that. We needed a day off. And I noticed it last week, and we talked a little bit about it. I thought about challenging before the game if we won the game at Arkansas, but I didn't want to put it on that. So once we got the lead at halftime, I told them that if we won that game, I was going to give them Sunday off, and they about ran over me. So a little motivation never hurts sometimes, but we're not as physically spent as we were mentally, and these guys need a break. And they didn't get in bed about 4 o'clock. It's going to be worse this week, and so. They need to be able to mentally get away from the coaches and football for 24 hours, and I think that helped. They came back today fired up, ready to go, and had a good practice.
Coach, you mentioned that you're having, physical practices, and I think really you guys have stepped it up ever since you've been 1 and 2. Have you noticed that being physical and keeping it fast in practice has helped carry over to and prepare better for?
Yeah, and again, the reason we did this wasn't punishment. If we're going back to physical practice after the first few weeks, it was more, we knew we were playing more younger guys, and we had to do, you can't get your fundamentals intact unless you practice. Football is a game that you have to practice and push and shove and hit, and you can't do it against just scout teams. You got our best players go against our best players on both sides of the ball. It's a lot of competition, but they enjoy it. They look forward to the beginning of practice. When you practice in the morning, sometimes you need to wake them up, so we do a few drills early. And on Tuesday practice, where it's 3-on-3, 1-on-1, 2-on-2, guys screaming and hollering, just kind of get the blood going, so we get mentally right for the rest of practice. It's coaches do a good job of waking them up, and I think it's been a big factor for us.
You talked about the Flynn Carolou combo combination of what they're able to do.
Yeah, it's a lot like what we do. Although we don't play Cody as much, Carolou is a guy that can run, make plays, he can throw it. And he's a good athlete. They've got the luxury of having 2 guys that are very dangerous, and both know the offense. Both are a little bit different, and they use them that way. Gary Croton, the offensive coordinator, I've known for a long time. Very good coach. Has been around, understands the passing game and the running game. I think he's done an excellent job with both of them. It's hard to balance, with 2 quarterbacks, but they've done a real good job of handling both of them and being able to get the best out of both of them.
Can you talk about just the first half of the college season and how crazy it's been and how the upsets have actually helped bring people back to you guys?
Yeah, it's hard to explain. It's everybody's got the schedule. There's some schedules that are going to be easier than others each year. You probably look at the teams that they might not have gotten even into their schedule yet. Going in the last part of the season. In the SEC, we kind of spread all of ours out throughout the season. You have some conference games early and middle and late. And I noticed some other conferences that wait till the end, the last part of the season, start playing some of their challenging games. So I think you're going to see more challenging games for some of the top 10, 15, 20 teams. But it's just college football is, when we added the 12th game, you give yourself another opportunity to obviously get beat or win a game. Challenging for players in terms of practice time and injuries. So I think you're going to see a lot more parity in terms of that, because you're stretching the players out. We play more games, but we get less players to play with. So it's going to be challenging as we go through the next 10 years if they don't get do something about the scholarship level.
Did you feel like it was the old Trey Blackman again in Arkansas?
Yeah, you could see it in his eye a little bit. He felt a lot better about pushing on. Trey's a tough guy, and you can imagine if he's having a tough time, with a sore ankle that, as much as he likes contact, that he was struggling a bit. But he looked a little bit more like what we saw at the end of last year, and how he played and how he moved around. So we just keep him out there going. I think he'll get better each day.
Coach, what is it about this game with LSU? The last 3 games you decided about total day points, and 5 out of the last 7 years you've been on the SEC championship.
Yeah, defense. I think that for years they've stressed defense, we've stressed defense, and you put two good teams together, and unless there's a lot of turnovers, there's not a lot of points scored. So I would imagine it'll be close to the same thing. We're playing pretty good on defense. They're playing excellent, and kicking game's always involved. But it's an exciting game. There's it's one of those games where you know that both teams are going to be ready to play. There's no doubt. We don't have to do a lot of mental coaching this week in terms of motivation. Our guys will be ready to play when they get there Friday. But we're going to wait till pretty late Saturday night to kick it off.
When you hired Muschamp a couple years ago, did you know he was going to be this fiery on the sidelines? And it's almost like he's going to that.
Is it fiery or crazy? He is. I stay out of his way, especially when the team's done well and they're coming off the field, because he's jumping on everybody. And that's what it's about. It's about enthusiasm and enjoying it. I'd like to do that sometimes, but I have to think about what's going on the other side of the ball too. But Will does a good job. He coaches hard from the time the ball's kicked off to the end. He takes it personal, which is good. Players like it. He'll get in their face, he'll grab them, and they know that he's out there for them. And that's fun to see. And you can do that more on defense. Offense is more finesse type side of the ball. Defense is just getting after it, hitting somebody, and making plays. And he's right in there with it. He does a good job. But all the coaches do. They've been fun to watch.
Even though that may not be, some of his actions have been painted in a positive light, you don't want him to change, because that's who and how he is as a coach.
Well, there's some things you could change, and that wouldn't make any difference how you play. But there's heat of the moment things, and you need to sometimes you get carried away. But I want him to be fired up, and the players. He knows the players that respond to getting grabbed and shook and patted on the back and all those things. But he's not prejudiced against anybody. From a starter to a third teamer. If you're playing and you're out on that field, he expects you to give 110% and play with enthusiasm, intensity, have fun, concentrate, do all the things that you need to do. And he's in tune with everything on defense, not just secondary that he coaches. Everything that he's responsible for. He knows what everybody's doing. So he'll get in a D lineman's face all the way to a cornerback. And again, that's what coaching is about.
All right. Thanks, Coach.